And now it's time for our guest. Welcome to the show. Our guest tonight is Lorna Velardi. Did I get that correct?
No, Lorna.
Lorna. Okay, Lorna Velardi.
Yes.
Okay, so why don't you tell us what is Environmental Strategy Consultants?
We're a company that handles environmental health and safety, compliance, management of compliance for various types of companies. I think you might know environmental health and safety is also called EH&S. There's lots of companies that because they have chemicals on site and other kinds of activities, that they actually have to deal with very, very complicated environmental laws that come out of the EPA. There's also OSHA rules on employers, what kind of work standards they have to have, and there's also state regulations. And these rules are very complicated. And they're difficult for companies to understand and their people to understand what to do and also to implement. So that's where we come into the picture. We're experts, and we help them with that. And we've been in business for 26 years providing this service in this area, in the Northeast, across the country, and we even have global clients.
So how did you get started in the business?
That's a really good question. I went to school in chemical engineering and graduated in chemical engineering and very quickly gravitated into environmental. I worked for an environmental consulting firm. Then I wanted to work in a corporation. I worked in the EH&S department for a Fortune 100 corporation and their staff, and then later became director of an entire company's compliance all across the country. And out of that, I saw that there was a gap in the services that were being provided out there. A lot of the consulting firms were viewing environmental as a very technical thing instead of looking at it as a management issue. And they weren't giving clients options, the most cost-effective options. That's the thing that came to me. It kept saying there has to be a more cost-effective way to implement these regulations. And so I started the company with that mission that we would provide companies the best possible advice to give them most cost-effective strategies for managing these difficult and complex environmental and health and safety world.
Right.
Well, we know that a lot's changed in the chemical and especially the environmental world over the last, let's say, 25 years. What changes have you seen, and what are some of the most interesting trends you see going forward for companies?
Well, yes, I've seen changes that I just never even thought I would see. First of all, when I started in the field, regulations were booming, and it just looked like for everybody that that was never going to end. The boom was just going to go on, and that has not been true. The other thing is that environmental issues were very much thought of as non-mainstream, sort of fringe. And now the whole environmental field and has become very mainstream, not only with consumers, but within businesses. It's very much more accepted within businesses that they have to be good environmental citizens and that they have to comply with environmental regulations. The other interesting trend is that despite all the talk about, China has so much pollution in the world, there's other countries such as Europe that have developed their own initiatives that don't look anything like ours. They're very, very different. And they're making U.S. companies and other companies that export to them follow their own regulatory scheme, which is very different. We also have sustainability. Sustainability has become not mainstream within the companies. We have major corporations that are initiating sustainability movements, and they're requiring their suppliers more and more to demonstrate that they're using good environmental practices, have good health and safety practices, as well as sustainable practices.
So what's a typical company you work with?
A typical company we work with has chemicals on site, and they're producing some kind of waste or air emissions. And they are a manufacturer usually. They could be a chemical distributor, petroleum distributor, power plant. Even we have clients that are hospitals that have environmental issues that they have to deal with.
So when the company hires you, sort of, what do you do for them?
Well, it depends on the company. A lot of the work that we do are environmental health and safety assessments, where we actually go out to the company and determine if they're in compliance with the various regulations, and or they need a stronger program, and we give them recommendations about things that they may be missing. One of our hallmarks is we'll even tell them the things that we think that they don't have to be doing. We find a lot of companies are actually over-complying or putting too much effort in one area and not in another area. Some companies need air permits, and that's a very specialized field. Or they need certain reports done on a yearly basis, and these reports are very tedious. They're government reports, and we produce that for a lot of different clients.